Just checking on that. So we'll go through this again. I guess my mic that was muted there. I apologize, guys. That's my bad. So we're talking about these ownership here. These are my Patreon projections. Good. Glad to hear that you can hear me now at least. We'll go through these quickly. So essentially, this is for the showdown slate tomorrow. We're dealing with quite a bit of bad weather. We're going to have upwards of 10 to 15 mile-an-hour winds for essentially the entire day. Also going to be raining for 75, even 80% of the day as well. And it's not going to be anything crazy. It's not going to be a downpour or a monsoon or anything like that, but consistent drizzle for at least the entire day. So that's going to make it extremely inconsistent for these players in terms of how their balls are going to land on these greens. They're also going to be dealing with that wind factor. So at least for my analysis here for round 2 of the Zozo Championship, I'm looking at an average score of 3 over par. I mean, in round 1, we had it at just 0.7 of a stroke over par. It was a little bit worse in the morning wave. We had about a 2.5 stroke over par average. But in the afternoon, got a little bit better. As the temperature increased, guys were getting a little bit more distance on their balls. We saw the average creep to actually under par. So it was half a stroke under par in the afternoon wave, 2.5 strokes over par in the wave in the morning. That's why we saw it normalize a little bit. But with the weather we're expecting tomorrow, it's not expected to heat up throughout the day. Expected to stay in the 50s whole way through the afternoon. Also windy, again, really shitty weather for the entire day. So overall, not going to be great scoring for Showdown, but going to give us a little bit of an edge because we're dealing with a drastic difference between how this course is going to play in round 1 to round 2. And I don't think a lot of people are necessarily going to adjust for that. So guys, we'll be taking a look at here in round 2, definitely people that are better around the green, people that are better at scrambling. These are already some of the smaller greens on tour just because they're the 2 green concept. Obviously over there in Japan, almost every course has 2 greens. One of them has more of a wintertime bent grass. One of them has more of a summertime bent grass. And I was able to confirm from the telecast yesterday that both greens are in operation. It's just because we're in one of those in-between seasons, right? We're in the fall season right now, maybe towards the end of summer, whatever you guys want to characterize this time of year. Either way, both greens are in decent shape. They have both of them open. So on some holes, they'll be playing both greens. But either way, they are small greens. Making sure you can get up and down on them is going to be a huge factor with this wind. Also taking a little bit more look at off the tee play. You're dealing with small fairways to begin with. Also plenty of hazards off the tee in the terms of just tree-lined fairways. So overall, looking for people that can keep the ball in play and that can get the ball up and down because you're definitely going to miss your fair share of greens today. You can also see the scoring reflected here with the Showdown projections over here. Obviously a little bit lower than what we're used to seeing for a typical event. You can see Collin Morikawa is the highest projected player in the field here at 33.29 points. Obviously not the highest in terms of point per dollar, though. A little bit overpriced here, in my opinion. It's a fade coming into the week. Somebody who makes a ton of birdies, but I a little bit question his upside in this field just given his putting ability. I mean, these greens are extremely complex. We saw him struggle with the putter in round 1, and he wasn't even bad with the ball striking. I mean, he missed a few greens there early on, a few of those tougher long par 4s, but everyone was missing those greens. You really just had to be able to get up and down. A majority of the field was able to do so. That's why we saw the scoring average creep a little bit down, especially in the afternoon. So Collin Morikawa, I am worried about that putter. Still going to be a fade for me. Xander Schauffele is a little bit of around the green deficiency, right? Not the best chipper. Somebody who, when he puts himself out of position, isn't always able to save the day. And it's not like Xander Schauffele is putting himself out of position a ton, but here with windy conditions, with a golf course that's going to show a lot more teeth this time around, I worried about that a little bit, right? Somebody who was a fade for me coming into the week for my 4-round golf tournament, and probably somebody I fade again here in this instance. It's just a little bit too risky, in my opinion. Somebody who, again, has a little bit of deficiency in one of the most important statistics for this round, at least in my custom modeling. I don't hate Will Zalatoris. You have a similar problem around the green. It's just a little bit less of a problem, a little bit less of a leak. He loses rate about 0.15 shots gained around the green per round. Xander Schauffele is closer to a quarter of a stroke per round. Don't hate it, but obviously he's a little bit better with his ball striking, right? He's better off the tee. He's more accurate. That's something that I'm looking at here in round 2. Also better on approach. He's probably the best approach player in this field. Hideki Matsuyama might have something to say about that, but I like the price here. You can see he got over a $600 price decrease right there, guys. And that's part of the intricacies of these showdown slates, right? You're going to get some guys that are just priced down just based on circumstance. They make it a little bit easier to make your lineups. So I like going there to Will Zalatoris. He's not overpriced here on the slate. Joaquin Neiman, we already talked about how much I like him in windy conditions. If you guys were here for my Wednesday live stream, he is one of the lower ball flights on tour, particularly with his wedges. His wedges have the ball flight of people's 8 irons or 9 irons on average doesn't really flight them up into the sky a million miles in the air. He's able to stop the ball, though, with his spin. He generates some of the most spin of any player on tour. If you guys have seen Joaquin Neiman before, have seen a highlight reel, he's spinning balls back 10, 15 yards at times. He's one of the higher spin players in the world, kind of like a Bubba Watson, very handsy through the swing, has a very strong grip as well. So at $9,300, I like going back there. Obviously, he's in second place right now. You can see he's one of my higher owned players on the slate there at nearly 19% ownership, but I don't hate going there. Again, just grades out very well. He's good in these windy conditions. He always fights the ball low, and it's just a default ball flight for him, right? He's not going to go out here and have to fight the ball down low. He can just go out and execute his typical shot. A lot of other players in this field, especially the high ball hitters, are going to have to adjust. So there's going to be some guys that are better at that than others, but I don't hate going to somebody that doesn't have to do that at all. Alex Noren's always good in hard conditions. He's somebody who I faded going into the week just because his game wasn't really there, but looked a little bit better than I expected there in round one. So if you want to go to somebody who's just a good course fit conditions in the past, you could definitely go to Alex Noren. Maverick McNeely, same kind of deal, right? Anytime you have small, hard to hit greens, he's going to pop in your modeling. He's very good at around the green, very good at putting, especially on bank grass greens that are a little bit undulated. So I like going there. We talked a little bit about Mackenzie Hughes while my mic was muted, unfortunately. So we'll go into Mackenzie Hughes here. Pretty much a hard course specialist, somebody who can go to any hard track like the Memorial. I mean, the Masters, he was in there in contention, US Open, PGA Championship, and he seems to take them apart. And the question comes down to why. Well, it comes down to what he's good at. He's good at a short game. He's an around the green specialist, somebody who is really good at just getting the ball in the hole, kind of like Patrick Reed. And the only difference between somebody like Mackenzie Hughes and a Patrick Reed is their ball striking, right? Patrick Reed, rather than being one of the worst ball strikers on the PGA Tour, is just dog shit at ball striking, right? So he's in like 100 to 110 range in terms of his ball striking rather than 150. So Mackenzie Hughes at these tracks that are a little bit shorter tends to get away with that a little bit more. You know, he's one of the shorter off the tee players on tour, but not only is he short off the tee, he can't hit fairways. Here at the Narashino, we don't have a ton of rough. So if you're just missing the fairways, it's not that big a deal. You just want to make sure you're not spraying it into the water or anything like that. So Mackenzie Hughes, I do like in this instance. He got over a $1,000 price decrease. Was already somebody I was playing at lower ownership for my main slate contest. But here in Showdown, I like him as well. He has the capability to go out and just make tons of putts. We've seen him go out, have 21, 22 putts in a round before. He's just that type of putter, especially on these fast bent grass surfaces. So I like going there a lot here. What is his shots gained on bent grass again? It's something nuts. 0.26 shots gained per round. His average, I believe, is right around 0.2. So I don't think it's that accurate. There's someone with 0.6. Who is it? I think there it is. Okay. It's Brendan Todd, guys. We're going to get to Brendan Todd here in a little bit. You're going to have to play him in Showdown here on this slate just because he's so good on bent grass. The guy didn't have a really good round one, but he's one of those people kind of like a Mackenzie Hughes who, when he gets the putter really rolling, just makes tons of putts, like 60, 70 footers. Will have maybe 22, 23 putts on the entire round. Those are guys I love playing in Showdown, especially here in harder conditions. Let's keep going through some of these guys here. And I'll remind you, if there's any questions you have, feel free to go ahead and put them down in the chat. So a few other people I'm interested in playing in this range. We already talked about Johnny Vegas. He's going to be a fade for me. This golf course just isn't set up for him. At the beginning of the week, we thought I was going to play a little bit easier. So he was one of my core plays. But now that we expect the weather that we do today, now that we expect the scores to likely be over par, 1 or 2 under par to be an excellent round for today's round, he's not the type of guy you're looking for. You're trying to take Johnny Vegas at an easy golf course where you're trying to take it apart with your off the tee play, and I don't think that's going to be the case for today. Ryan Palmer is somebody that I will be targeting, though. He's $7,500, got a significant price decrease there of over $700, $800 exactly right there. You can see he's, in terms of point per dollar, is popping in my modeling. A lot of that's just due to the price tag here, but in terms of a course fit, really like the fact that he's been good at harder golf courses, so kind of just like Mackenzie Hughes, seems to show up at the Memorial, show up in these major championships, makes the cut at a lot of these big field events, and obviously no cut this week, but Ryan Palmer going to be a consistent performer, probably somebody who by the end of the week is going to give you a top 15, top 20 finish, even if he doesn't do it with any sexy highlights or anything like that. So I like going there in Showdown. Almost every single week he's due for one of those 7-8 under rounds. So why not here in some hard conditions on Friday? Matt Wallace, I do not understand the price tag here at all. It's $7,300. So obviously had a very good round one. Somebody who I played as a good level of ownership leverage there for the main slate. Just a better player than where his price tag was at, right? So even at $8,000, I thought he was significantly underpriced, especially considering some of the guys we had in that $9,000 range. But at $7,300, it's a comical price tag. You can see that he's definitely garnering ownership now. I got him at 11.9%, and it wasn't very chalky going into the main slate, but after seeing that very good first round, obviously the name recognition of somebody like a Matt Wallace is going to get him quite a bit of steam going into this round. Garrett Higgo is somebody I love playing in hard conditions. Just like Mackenzie Hughes, he's a gamer. He goes out there, he gets the ball in the hole. If you take a look at his ball striking numbers, they are hardly ever going to make you excited about it, right? You're going to see him lose off the tee quite a bit. He's relatively short off the tee, not very accurate. On approach, he's very inconsistent. But we also saw him win his first ever golf tournament at the Palmetto Championship. He has 7 international wins, and he's 21 years old. I think that should tell you everything you need to know about him. Matt Wallace has 10 professional wins, and he's nearly 30 years old. So, and people think of Matt Wallace as, a veteran on the tour, a prolific winner, someone that gets it done. I mean, Garrett Higgo was 21, almost has the same amount of wins. So I think we should start, putting some respect on Higgo's name. I think a lot of people aren't giving him that type of recognition. I'll be playing him here in Showdown. He has the ability to go out there and just, again, like Mackenzie Hughes, take the world and light it on fire. So I got about a few other people in this cheaper $7,000 range that I will be playing. There's not a ton of guys when it starts to get down in this range that I love for Showdown. Matt Jones is always good in hard conditions. You saw him shoot 7 or 8 under at the Honda Classic earlier this year. And the rest of the field was hardly even shooting under par. So Matt Jones, he's from Australia. He's used to very windy conditions, but I don't hate going there at all. Brendan Steele, do not understand the pricing. Obviously, he shot 4 under in round one. He shot 66. Very good in golf courses where you have to hit it in the fairway, where you prioritize accuracy off the tee. So, like going there, it's obviously being owned. He's obviously in that top 5 right now. So, a lot of people are going to see him on that leaderboard, immediately try to click him in there at $6,700. So, if you're on a little bit more of a chalky build or something like that, you might not want to go to Brendan Steele, but as long as you're unique somewhere else, I don't hate going to him at all. See, Troy Merritt, he played here in 2019, was able to post a top 25 finish. You see, he got a little bit of a price increase, but I don't hate going there at all. It's not going to be completely overlooked. It's been well established, well talked about in the community that he played here in 2019, but again, has familiarity. It's a good course fit on paper, and it's coming in with good form as well. So checks all the boxes. Let's see what we got. Scott Vincent was a huge dud in round one. I had exposure to him. I pretty much matched the field in terms of my ownership. At $7,300, you got a price increase despite having a horrible round. I do expect people to buy back in on them just because they have them for their 4-round lineups, and people tend to do that. They tend to just only play the people they have in their 4-down lineups, and it is not the way to play Showdown. You should always be adjusting for the stats that we have. For the form that we saw in round one, and Scott Vincent didn't look very good. He only made 1 birdie on the day, I believe 3 bogeys. He shot 2 over. Not what I'm looking for in Showdown, right? We expected a lot more from the kid. He's a very high pedigree player, somebody who, again, has wins internationally, and that says a whole lot about him because the game has really grown internationally. We have some tours out there that are rivaling the Korn Ferry Tour and even the PGA Tour at times. The field last week for the European Tour actually had a stronger strength of field than the Barracuda Championship and the Bermuda Championship, which are 2 PGA Tour events. So there's definitely a lot more overlap than people expect. So somebody like Vincent that has wins internationally, I don't think we can completely discount him here on the slate. See some other options down low. We're willing to go to Roger Sloane, right? So he didn't have a great round one. It's average. Don't know what he shot exactly. I believe it was even par. But either way, he has a good skill set for the golf course. So I'm not really worried about the round one form. With him, he's accurate off the tee, right? He's looked a lot better of late, especially at the end of last season. Or last 2 months of the year, was one of the better players on tour in terms of shots gained, ball striking. Also a very good putter. Always has been a good putter. Particularly on fast greens, at greens that tend to trick a lot of other people. He makes a ton of putts. So he's at the same exact price as what we saw him earlier on in the week. You can see in terms of point per dollar, he outshines pretty much everyone else in this range. So good in terms of value. You didn't even see a price decrease, right? So that's a good sign. A lot of these other people here got a price decrease, and they're still worse in terms of point per dollar. So that should tell you a lot about Roger Sloane, what I think about him, at least in terms of my projections. Let's go down to a few other people here that we like. James Hahn looks good in terms of his projections. I don't necessarily agree with it, though. I don't think he's a very good skill set fit here. Kyle Stanley, I want to talk about him. He would have been in 5th place if it weren't for his last hole yesterday. He made a triple bogey on his 18th hole. I have no idea what the hell happened to him. Wasn't able to see it on TV. There's no highlights of it or anything like that. I can just only expect that he hit it in water at some point. He flubbed a chip or that kind of thing. And obviously, if you put that aside, and again, that's asking a lot, he would have had a great round. He had 6 birdies yesterday, was on fire, absolutely pin seeking with his iron play. He was even seeking putts, which we don't usually see from Kyle Stanley. I think that is extremely encouraging. I mentioned earlier on the week that I'm targeting a lot of these people that are dog shit at putting because nobody's going to make a ton of putts here. These are very hard to read greens. You're getting 2 to 3 foot breakers from 5 or 6 feet. If you're above the hole or if you're to the side of the hole, which is borderline unfair. Those are not even makeable putts. I mean, you're probably looking at a 10 to 15% make percentage for these guys. So guys like Kyle Stanley that don't make a whole lot of putts to begin with, get a massive boost. You don't have to worry about that as much if nobody's making putts. I just wanted to reiterate here for anybody that has dropped in or anything like that. So Droppin' Birdie says, thanks on the Neiman tip in your video. Us and Allison witnessing greens led to change short game specialists. I did Noren, Clark, Hideki, and Jones. Yeah, man, I went to Jones a ton in my showdown lineups. Same thing with Neiman. A lot of these guys that were good in the wind. Today, it's like even more so the thing. You said very profitable. Yeah, man, I'm killing it right now. I don't want to jinx myself or anything like that, but I'm like 10-12x my entries right now. So I'm not complaining about how it's gone so far, but I think it's gonna be like that even more so today, right? You're dealing with rain the entire day and even more wind. So they're going to be firing up those same kind of players, like a Neiman, people that are good at small greens like McNeely, maybe even Noren, like you mentioned in your video right there. Clark, I didn't really think of, but you're right. Clark is really good at these hard golf courses, seems to show up. Yeah, guys like that. We're looking at that today, but even more so, in my opinion. Wesley Bryan was a complete dud in round 1. I don't really know what to do with him. He's again, we hardly ever see him play golf, but sometimes he shows up and he has a game and you need him in your lineups. I'm going to have him in a few showdown lineups because he's a short game specialist. He's somebody who's very good around the green, can make a ton of putts, particularly on bent grass. So Wesley Bryan, even though he had a horrible round 1, you don't have to worry about that for showdown Friday. It's a completely irrelevant how he played on Thursday. So I like going there for showdown purposes, at least. At 4 down, 4-round contest. Obviously, probably wish you didn't have him after that first round. Let's see. There's a few other short game specialists I want to go to. Brian was trying to do trick shots all yesterday. Yeah. He just, I'm assuming, he's got his little paycheck. He obviously has no cut event. I think it's like at least 70 grand guaranteed. He's like, I'll just go out and hit trick shots for the Japanese people, get some sponsorship stuff or something like that. I don't know. You'd probably make more money doing that, to be honest with you. Be like the Harlem Globetrotters of the PGA Tour or whatever. Let's go up. Let's find a few other people that are good in hard conditions, just because we know those are the kind of conditions we're expecting today. You can see Wyndham Clark here. So Droppin' Birdie's mentioned Wyndham Clark. He's $7,100. I don't hate going there. You're probably going to see lower ownership than I expect right here. So 6.5% is what I have in terms of my sims. Probably going to come in closer to 4 or 5% just because of that price tag difference right there. Let's see. I'm having a hard time finding anyone else that I'd be comfortable playing in hard conditions. You might be looking at the same guys that we were talking about yesterday. Brandon Grace. So Brandon Grace did not have a good round there on Thursday, but just like somebody like Wesley Bryan, it doesn't matter in Showdown how they played on Thursday. Brandon Grace has been very good at the Open Championship, and if we're going to be in windy conditions at a course with a ton of undulation, that's an Open Championship right there, right? And Brandon Grace has been prolific at Open Championships, obviously has the lowest round ever at an Open Championship. Also, somebody who's put up a lot of 6-7 under rounds at Opens at major championships, seemingly out of nowhere. So I like him in these windy conditions. He's the lowest ball flight of anyone on the PGA Tour. I don't know if you guys have seen some of his swings. Some of his drives get like 20, maybe 25 feet off the ground, and they end up rolling out like 125 yards, that kind of thing. He just puts top spin on his drives. It's actually kind of hilarious. I used to hit those when I was in high school. And that was before like I knew how to hit up on the golf ball. So I would kind of like chop down, but kind of hit like a stinger drive, which was not very effective. I was not able to generate a ton of topspin like Brendan Grace, but that's his stock driver shot, which is to me is kind of funny. Shots gained around the green is all I looked at. Grace is the one who screwed me. Yeah, exactly. So he didn't have a very good round one, especially for it. I wouldn't look just at shots gained around the green. So I would also look at putting. So especially with the greens as undulated as they are, if you have a guy that goes out there and is just making a ton of par putts, that's going to be almost just as good as the around the green stat because, I mean, for obvious reasons, right? So I am looking at putting as well, not just around the green. Brendan Grace, not a very good putter. So maybe that's why we saw that there in round one. We already mentioned Matt Wallace. I like Matt Wallace. Just trying to see if I missed anyone going through it the first time, but I don't think I did. Ricky Fowler, right? He's good around the green. He's good on the greens as well. Plus, the ball striking has been there. So I can't really think of any reason not to play Ricky. Yeah, but that's going to do it, guys. We got through all the people I liked there. Again, I don't want to talk about everyone in the field, just the guys that I am comfortable about for tomorrow. So thank you guys for stopping by as always. I appreciate the support here in the channel. Good luck with all of your lineups for today. Hopefully your 4-round lineups are looking good. We're looking good here on this side of things. So hopefully